Let's talk about the first Berserker Khazan, and specifically the demo. I'm Fox with RealMarcFoxx, and this is your home for rational, reasonable, real gamers.
We'll do it live! Do it live!
The first Berserker Khazan releases on March 27th, 2025, and a demo is available for free on Steam, also available, I believe, on the Xbox and possibly PlayStation 5, though double check that for me, guys. I played through the demo when it first came out from start to finish, did a ton of grinding and farming in the game because this game has loot that is somewhat randomized based on level. This is by all accounts a Souls-like because it really does pretty much follow the standard Souls formula. You got your third-person action RPG combat where you need to be strategic and be well aware of how long your actions take, dodging, blocking, getting perfect blocks, which aren't quite a parry. You also have a stagger meter on enemies where you want to perfectly block them so that you build up that stagger so you can do what is essentially a Bloodborne-like visceral attack. You've got your basic attack, sometimes known as a weak attack. Then you've got your power attack. You can hit the Y button if you're using a standard Xbox controller, or hold it to charge it up, just like you could with Bloodborne as well. You have Nexus points, which basically function as bonfires, allowing you to level up by using Lacrima, this game's versions of Souls, to put into certain stats. And some stats correlate directly with benefits to weapons. So, for example, if the proficiency stat is increased, then a weapon that scales off proficiency will increase in power as well. But if the weapon doesn't have a proficiency stat, then it may not do a lot for you. And of course, in typical Souls fashion, if you die, you drop all your Lacrima, this game's version of Souls, and you have to go back to that spot to regain it. But if you die again, you lose it forever. However, one slightly different thing here is that Lacrima and gold are two separate things. And while I amassed a ton of gold in both of my demo playthroughs, yes, I played through it twice, I did not find anywhere in the demo in which I could use any of the gold. We can only assume there will be merchants or at least stores where you can spend the gold, but as far as I could tell, there was nowhere to spend that gold in the demo. If you decide to play the demo, the developer has said that you can pick up where you left off in the demo and continue on in the full game, because the demo is essentially the beginning of the game up until, depending on how you count them, basically like the second, third, maybe fourth boss, depending on which ones you count as bosses. One really cool thing about this game that makes it separate from the Souls game is the loot system. It's not quite on the level of Borderlands, it's not totally randomized, but you do get different levels of gear. So if you find a helmet, a sword, gauntlets, they'll have a level set to it, maybe level 1. Then you might find a level 2. Then you might find another level 2 or level 3. Then you might find a level 5 or 7. And of course, the higher the level, the more armor is on it or the more attack power is on it. And I've noticed that if I found a level 7 attack power weapon, I typically will only find level 7 items after that or higher. So you don't have to worry about having, say, a level 12 weapon and finding a whole bunch of level 1s, 2s, or 3s. This makes it really awesome because as you're farming, once you get a certain level, at that point, you can now count on getting either the same thing or something a little bit higher. So you keep going and keep going to try to find out where it's going to max out. And I think in the demo, I ended up farming in my first playthrough all the way up to like level 20 something. But I did actually beat the first major boss of the demo with what I think was a level 1 weapon. And it's a basic sword and axe. That's right, you have a sword in one hand and an axe in the other. Kind of a cool setup. It doesn't change a whole lot. It could effectively just be 2 swords. There are no actual shields in this game as far as I'm aware, but you do block with your weapons, and if you time it just right, you can get a perfect block, which does no damage to you. I don't even think you take any of that stamina damage that you would say in the Souls games when you block, and works like Liza P. Get the perfect block, everything's grand, everything's great, but you don't get the perfect block, you're going to take some stamina damage. And in this game, if your stamina goes all the way down and you get hit, you go into a staggered mode, where it takes you a few seconds to kind of regain your composure. And in those few seconds, you may find it's the difference between life and death. Many times when I died, it's because I let my stamina drain all the way. I got hit, I was staggered for a few seconds, got hit a couple more times, dead. This is the kind of game where you have to make sure you don't run your stamina all the way down. As for how the game looks, it looks incredible. It has a somewhat anime style look to it. It is apparently cel shaded, which I like. A lot of people remember that when Legend of Zelda Wind Waker came out, there was a lot of controversy over whether the people liked or hated the cel shaded look. This is a much higher resolution, higher detail cel shading, so it's not that sort of kiddie, childlike aesthetic of Wind Waker, but you can tell that this is cel shading. I do really like it. It reminds me a little bit of Code Vein, except it looks better and not as much of the anime. Overall, the aesthetic maintains itself throughout both the CGI cutscenes as well as the in-game engine graphics, so you don't have to worry about those things conflicting with one another. Everything here seemed pretty seamless, pretty solid, and I actually did watch the cutscenes for this. The story so far seems interesting enough, although I don't imagine it's going to be incredible by any means, but should be interesting enough that most gamers won't mind watching the cutscenes if they choose to do so. If you don't want to watch them, you can skip them. One big difference between Khazan in the Souls games is that there are no iframes, the I standing for invincibility. Everyone who's played the Souls games, including Bloodborne or Elden Ring, knows that you can roll through many attacks, even if as you're rolling, the attack comes and technically passes through your character. Now, obviously, if you're visually seeing a sword slicing through your character, whether you're rolling, jumping, whatever you're doing, it should actually hit you, right? But we've gotten so used to it that it makes sense to us that if you roll through a giant sword, it doesn't hit you. Now in Khazan's a little more realistic in that if you try to roll through that giant halberd swing of the first mini-boss, it's going to hit you. There are no iframes, but there is one saving grace: the perfect dodge. This is just like Stellar Blade. If you get that dodge spot on, you will see it, as it will leave a bit of kind of a ghost of the main character as you flash away from it and take no damage. Awesome. So your goal is to get those perfect dodges, to get those perfect blocks, and to continue moving, attacking, get the enemy's health to zero, obviously, because that's what you want to do in all the Souls games, right? But this one has incredible, smooth controls, very smooth, precise animations, and nothing about this game felt floaty or off to me at all. No more that Dark Souls 3 kind of weird floatiness like you're ice skating across the ground. None of that stuff where stuff hits you even though it doesn't look like it hit you. Everything that hit me in this game legitimately looked like it should have hit me, and everything that missed legitimately should have missed. So I didn't notice any hit detection issues. Like I said, very fluid animations, really enjoyed it. Live streamed my second playthrough, and everyone who watched it, who commented, also seemed to enjoy watching me play it, and they all seem to have a positive outlook on this game. I think this will probably be worth buying at full price, even at 70 bucks. I originally thought it was going to be a day one Game Pass game, but I can't confirm that now, so maybe I just made that up and was mistaken. I really do hope it does come to Game Pass day one, but as of right now, I can't find any list where it says it does. If it will come to Game Pass later, well, I don't want to wait. I want to jump on the Khazan bandwagon right away. I want to get on that hype train. I'm going to buy it straight off of Steam, even if I have to pay $70. But as I mentioned earlier, you got that stagger meter on enemies, including bosses. So if you build it up or drag it down, I can't remember, it's one of those. Once you complete that stagger meter, you put them in this sort of vulnerable state where you can do a special attack against them, or sometimes you can stagger them in such a way where there'll be a little sort of reticle looking circle, a red circle, and it'll slowly drain. And while that circle is still draining, you can just wail on the enemy as much as you want, as long as you have enough stamina. So when you see the enemy go into that state, that's when it's no holds barred, take the gloves off, attack as much as you can. That's your chance to do maximum damage. The demo featured a nice cave area, which looked cool enough, and then featured a snowy mountainous area, which was awesome because there were also some environmental pitfalls. I walked over certain areas and you can hear it start to crackle like it's gonna crumble, and yes, it will, so you better keep moving because the ground's just gonna fall out from under you. So yes, you can fall in the game, but the good news is, if you dash right up to a ledge and then dash again, it will keep you up there and you can't accidentally dash off a ledge. You can walk off a ledge, no problem. You can get hit off of a ledge, but you can't accidentally dash your way off a ledge like you could in, say, Bloodborne, or roll off an edge, or ledge rather, as you could in, say, Dark Souls. It was always annoying to me when I'm dodging and I'm trying to roll around to avoid an enemy that's near a cliff and I end up just rolling off the cliff. I mean, yes, it's realistic, but annoying. And this game is just like Skyrim in that you start out as a prisoner in a cart being pulled by some horses in a snowy area with guards guarding you. So therefore, Skyrim. The first main boss you fight is the Yeti, which I think they call the Yatuga, which sounds similar to Yeti. It's still got the Y-E-T of Yeti in it. It's obviously a big giant Yeti with these crystal things on its back. I think its back is a weak point, so if you're able to stagger it, or when it charges at you, if you get out of the way and it hits the wall, it'll stagger. Attack the back. It does sound like it does extra damage. It makes that sort of crystal breaking sound. That's just one tip from me to you. The game, of course, has combos you can string together with the charge attacks on the heavy attack, and you will need to use your heavy attack at times, even the charge, because some enemies will have a shield, and you're not just going to be able to wail on them in the standard, quote, R1, even though, by default, this game uses the face buttons for combat. I was disappointed that on the PC version, you cannot remap the controls at will. I was using a gamepad, and it only gives you option A or B. And A has the combat, the attacks on the face buttons, and the B option makes it a little more like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, and that the attack buttons are the shoulder buttons. So take your pick there, and you probably want to stick with that. But I would rather just change each individual button at will. I like that customizability because I'm a PC gamer. So obviously you've seen some gameplay footage from my live stream here. You can tell it looks really smooth, even though this was limited to 1080p and 60 frames per second. I played it all the way up to close to, at times, over 200 frames per second on my 1440p monitor. It looked amazing, really smooth, played really well, very well optimized for a demo long before the game came out. So hopefully they managed to make this thing even better. I'm expecting Khazan to be the type of game that I'm going to play from start to finish at least once all the way through, if not more than once. What do you think of Khazan? Please let me know in the comment section below. I do read all of your comments. I love reading them. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and you know what's coming. Pick up a copy of my sci-fi cyberpunk light novel New Tokyo. There's a link in the description. Thank you so much for joining me, and as always, I will see you next time. Have a great day.